this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to use German short rows to make a short row heel. You begin by dividing your stitches in thirds. I have 20 stitches on this needle, so I'm going to divide so that I have 7 stitches on each side and marking the center 6 stitches as the center of my heel. The center stitches do not get short rows. You begin your German short rows on the purl side. So to make a German short row, you slip the stitch as if to purl with the yarn in front, and then you pull that stitch, the working yarn, up so that there are 2 legs showing, and that creates something called a double stitch. And then you move your yarn into place and purl across this first row. I'll pause until I get to the end of the row. I finish purling across my row. I'm going to turn, and now I'm going to make a double stitch on the knit side of the fabric. On the knit row, same practice. You slip the stitch with the yarn in front, slip it off, and then pull your yarn up to make a double stitch, and pull it up into place. You're now with the yarn in back, and you knit across the row. We are making decreasing short rows at this point. A short row heel, you start by making your decreasing short rows, and then you start making increasing short rows to finish the heel. I'm coming up to the end of my knit row. And remember, when you're doing decreasing short rows, you knit 1 fewer stitch each row. So here's my double stitch, and here's my last stitch on my knit row. I'm going to turn. I will make a double stitch here and purl back across to the other side. There I am coming up on my first double stitch on the purl side. And we're going to knit that stitch and turn. Put our yarn in front, slip the stitch, pull the yarn up to make the double stitch. I sometimes hold my finger to hold that in place, and knit across again. We'll pause here while I finish making these German short rows. I've now knit to the point where I'm at my last set of 2 short rows. This is the purl short row. I'm going to purl across the heel stitches here. And here's my last double stitch on the knit side. And now I'm going to knit across the row, and we're going to start our increasing short rows. But before we do that, we're going to knit across our double stitches. So when we come to our double stitch, we knit those two legs together through the front loop as if they're one stitch, because they are. All the way down to the end of the row, picking up all the double stitches on this side. And now we're going to knit across the instep stitches. This is how the German short row heel differs from the wrap and turn short row heel, in that you now knit across the instep stitches over to the other side of your heel to finish your decreasing short rows. I'll pause while I knit across here. I've knit across my instep stitches, and I'm now over to the side where I have double stitches again, and I'm going to knit those double stitches. Make sure you go through both legs of that double stitch. I'm going to knit over to this last marker. And you can see that we've formed the top half or the bottom half of the heel if you're knitting from the toe up. And you can see the start of the heel right there. Now I'm going to knit one more round, complete round, and I'll be back. I've knit across my instep stitches again, and I've knit up to the last marker here on the knit side. I'm going to knit one stitch past that marker. I'm going to turn, and we're going to begin doing increasing short rows to make the second half of the heel. So again, we make the double stitch. And go across to one stitch after the marker on this side. And turn. Make our double stitch here. Just like before. Pull that up into place, pull that, slip our marker, and knit across. Now we knit the double stitch we just made. And knit one more. make our double stitch. And purl. And get rid of the markers at this point. Sorry, fighting with my yarn here. I'm going to drop that marker. I'm going to purl this double stitch together. Purl one past. Make my next double stitch. Knit over to the next double stitch. One past the double stitch. And we're ready to make another double stitch. I'm at the point that I have knit all the way over and have done my last double stitch here on the purl side, and I've purled back across here, and I need to make a double stitch here on this very last stitch. So I'm going to make my double stitch and knit across the row over to the other side. Something straighten out here so you can see. So I've knit over to my last double stitch on this side. I'm going to knit that double stitch, and then we're going to knit across begin knitting across the instep stitches and knitting back in the round. And so get things slid up here and just knit across the instep stitches. I'll pause until we get over to the other side. So I've knit across my instep stitches, and I'm ready to knit my last double stitch on my heel. So we knit that, and be sure when you knit this stitch that you pull it tightly up against the cable so that you don't have a gap between your stitches at the sides, and just knit across to the end. And here's our finished short row heel. No gaps, no holes on either side. Nice heel shape. And you're back to the point where you begin knitting in the round to finish either the leg at the foot if you're coming from the toe up, or down to the toe if you're doing cuff down. And that's how you do a German short row heel. One thing that I need to mention about German short row heels is that you can't really use contrasting yarn to make this heel. This is not the method to use. This is not the short row heel method to use if you want to make a contrasting heel. You can if you're doing rapid turn short rows, because you don't knit across the instep stitches as part of the process. But because you knit 2 rows across the instep stitches before you do before you finish the heel, if you did that with contrasting yarn, you would end up with a stripe, a 2-row stripe of a different color on the top of your instep. And you probably don't want that if you're doing contrasting heels.